Hello friends, this is teacher JB. Today we are studying 20 vocabulary with the story The Fossil Hunters. The Fossil Hunters. The first word, arduous. 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 When something is arduous, it demands great effort or labor. The explorers began their arduous hike up the steep mountain. In those days, a trip to the west was an arduous journey. Arduous. Attain. 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 To attain something means to gain or achieve it, often after a lot of effort. In 2 more years, I will attain my college diploma. He has attained the highest grade in his music exams. Attain. Coexist. 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 To coexist with something means to exist with it in the same time and place. Our pets coexist at our home with little or no problems. The two communities coexist peacefully. Coexist. Conceive. 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 To conceive something means to be able to imagine or believe it. The child could not conceive the actual size of the earth. I think my uncle still conceives of me as a 4-year-old. Conceive. Dubious. 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 When something or someone is dubious, they are not considered honest. These claims are dubious and not scientifically proven. The police thought that the man's description of the crime was dubious. Dubious. Ego. 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 An ego is a person's sense of their own worth. Kelly's ego made her think that she was some kind of a superhero. That man has such an enormous ego. I've never known anyone so full of themselves. Ego. Elastic. 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 Elastic is a rubber that stretches when it is pulled. He attached the elastic bungee to his legs before he jumped off the platform. A lot of sportswear is made of very elastic material. Elastic. Endeavor. 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 An endeavor is an attempt to do something, especially something new or original. Crossing the North Pole on foot was an amazing feat of human endeavor. The company's new advertising endeavor ended in a horrible failure. Endeavor. Engrave. 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 To engrave means to cut a design or words into the surface of something. The couple engraved their names onto the old pine tree. The jeweler skillfully engraved the initials on the ring. Engrave. Excavate. 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 To excavate means to dig on land and remove dirt to look for something. The team wishes to excavate the site in hopes of finding fossils. Ice Age bones are being excavated in the caves. Excavate. Jagged. 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 When something is jagged, it has a tough, uneven shape or edge. The swimmer was hurt when he fell on the jagged rocks. There was a jagged piece of glass on the floor. Jagged. Local. 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 A locale is a small area or place where something specific happens. The spa was the perfect locale for my mother to relax and enjoy her vacation. The book's locale is a coastal town in the summer of 1958. Locale. Mold, mold, mold. A mold is a hollow container that is used to make certain shapes. Using a cupcake mold will ensure that they come out just right. The pieces are made in a mold, and I just paint them. Mold. Outright, outright, outright. When something is outright, it is open and direct. Everyone knew that the boy story was an outright lie. There was no outright winner in the election. Outright. Periphery. 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 The periphery of an area, place, or thing is the edge of it. A beautiful floral pattern is on the periphery of the stationery. Houses have been built on the periphery of the factory site. Periphery. Plaster. 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 Plaster is a smooth paste that gets hard when it dries. My leg was in plaster for about 6 weeks. He used the plaster to fill in the cracks in the old walls. Plaster. Shovel. 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 A shovel is a tool with a long handle that is used for digging. The boy grabbed his shovel and got all of the snow off of the sidewalk. Should I put another shovelful of coal on the fire? Shovel. Skeletal. 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 When something is skeletal, it relates to bones in the body. We studied the skeletal system in anatomy class. He suffered serious skeletal injuries in the accident. Skeletal. Terrestrial. 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 If something is terrestrial, it relates to Earth. There are billions of terrestrial life forms. Newton investigated terrestrial and celestial motion. Terrestrial. Vicious. 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 When something or someone is vicious, they are violent and cruel. The vicious dog tried to bite the small child. The police said that this was one of the most vicious attacks they'd ever seen. Vicious. Now let us read a story.
The Fossil Hunters. Tim and Dean were great fossil hunters. They were the very best at finding dinosaur bones. Although Tim and Dean were quite similar, they were outright enemies. The two men got into vicious arguments all the time. They couldn't coexist peacefully because their egos were too large. Tim thought he was the best fossil hunter, while Dean was sure that he was much better than Tim. One day, Tim was searching for fossils on the periphery of the city when he discovered a huge bone. He had never seen anything like it. He took a shovel and carefully excavated the dirt around it. As he dug, he uncovered more jagged bones. He realized that he had found an entire dinosaur skeleton. Tim couldn't conceive a plan to remove the huge skeleton all by himself. Such an endeavor would be too arduous. He needed help. He tried to think of people who would be capable of helping him remove the skeleton without breaking it. The only person Tim could think of was Dean, his enemy. Tim ran into the city to find Dean. Tim found him and said, "Dean, I found the skeletal remains of a huge terrestrial animal, but I can't get the skeleton out by myself. Will you please help me?" Dean thought that Tim's claim might be dubious. He replied, "If you're serious about the skeleton, I'll help." Tim excitedly showed Dean the skeleton's locale. They worked together to carefully remove each bone. And to keep the bones together, They tied them with elastic strips. When they were finished, they had attained a perfect skeleton. They used plaster to make a mold of the dinosaur's skull. They engraved their initials into it and gave it to the curator of a local museum. Tim and Dean found out that they could work very well together. They decided to end their feud and become friends. By combining their talents, the men became even greater than they were before.
Okay, friends, this is the conclusion of today's study. I will come back to you with another set of 20 vocabulary. Until then, keep studying English and have a great day. Bye.